AEW is on the path, shall we say, to All In. They got a few things to take care of before they hit Wembley Stadium in London. To help me break it all down, joining me on the hotline, you read all of his stuff on Cageside Seats. He is Rick Ucchino. Rick, how are you, good sir?
I am doing very, very well, Stu. How are you, man? It's been a minute since we had a chance to finally hook up and do this.
I know. It's good. Great to join up with you again. By the way, do you pay attention to the All Star game? I mean, you're there in Cincinnati. You got the Reds there, but how much attention do you pay to the All Star game?
Um, a little bit. I'm monitoring the game. I'm gonna wait to see if Ellie gets in. I usually watch once the Reds players are in, and then I really don't care much after that. I will say this: like when when your players are involved in it, when the Reds hosted the All Star game back in 2015, and Todd Frazier won the home run derby, like that was one of the best nights of my life as a sports fan, and which also shows you how low the bar is as a Cincinnati sports fan. But regardless, yeah, when they're in the game, I'm paying attention, but it's hard too because the Reds, at least in my lifetime, typically don't do much in all-star games. So it's like Joey Votto, one of the best players of all time. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's got like one hit in all-star game appearances. So hopefully Ellie can light some people up when he gets in there tonight.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, it's just up I-35 in Arlington at Globe Life Field, and it's kind of like what you're talking about. The Reds, the Rangers aren't exactly they don't set the world on fire. Yes, they're the defending World Series champions, but man, this year they have not done much of it all. So, but hey, it's at least it's fun to have it up there in Arlington. Um, and I'm gonna get to Arlington here in just a bit. First of all, so this happened on Collision, and of course, Collision was taped, but whatever. So you had the Bang Bang Gang. Jay White's out with injury. So you had the Guns and Juice Robinson defending, or well, they were just wrestling three local guys, I guess is the best way to put
Yeah,
it.
enhancement
And
talent. Yeah.
they win, and they start talking about how they're going to use the Freebird rule, so to speak. So Juice Robinson is now 1/3, or actually they said 1/4 of the Unified Trios champions. And then Christopher Daniels comes out, says, no, you can't do that. And in fact, we're stripping you of the titles. And then you're gonna have a match with the patriarchy at a date, to be determined. Now, did that make sense to you? Because I mean, I get that. Yes, Jay White's out. You don't have the actual trios champions, so if they can't defend, gotta take it away. But why not do like a quick tournament? Because you got several trios that could contend for those titles, but instead you're just going to put patriarchy, Bang Bang Gang, winners are the trios champs.
Yeah, look, the entire thing that they have done with the trios titles and surrounding the Bang Bang Gang has not made much sense to me. I thought it would have made all the sense in the world, especially considering that, Jay White was in the Owen Hart and you were going to be focusing on his singles run at the time. Why not just let Juice slide right in as a member of the group, do the Freebird rule, or as our my generation may know it as the New Day rule, right? Just let anybody, defend it on any given night. Like you have a trios team or whatever, you're all the tag team champions, right? Anybody can defend it. That's made more sense to me and would kind of open Jay White up to do other things because I feel like his run since joining AEW has been a little bit of a letdown for me. I feel like he should have come in and instantly, like what they're doing with Will Ospreay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't you do something similar like that with Jay White? I just feel like he's kind of a little bit underutilized in the role that they have him in right now. He's very, very good, both on the mic and in the ring, obviously. And this is a guy that originally, when he came in, this is a guy who he couldn't be beaten, like could not be beaten. Like I'm sitting there, like you're gonna have to kill this guy to pin him. And I thought that he was gonna be skyrocketing right up to the top, and then like a one-legged, one-armed, hobbled MJF just beats him, and that's it. And it's done. It's over. And he's been floundering in the trios division ever since, in wrestling and Ring of Honor and stuff like that. The whole thing has been confusing what they've done with Jay White. This makes no sense. Why would Christopher Daniels, who's on Team AEW, do Patriarchy any favors by giving them a trios tag team championship match when the Patriarchy is on Team All Elite? So I or the Team Elite. I don't know. I don't get it. None of this makes much sense to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. And yes, Jay White, fantastic talent. Now the mic stuff, I'll be honest, to me, he gets a little long-winded on the mic, but he is good. You're right. And yeah, it made no sense. Like I said, I don't know why, kind of like what you just said. Why don't they just let Juice Robinson slide in that role and let them continue and then, create something down the road? I get it.
I don't know if it's just them going, oh, that's something WWE would do. We can't do that. Like, I don't know. I just feel like they're trying to be too cute with this.
I guess. Dynamite 250 coming up actually tomorrow night.
Wow.
And they're going to be in Little Rock, Arkansas, which the birthplace of one Stu Myrick. So they've got the card pretty stacked as of right now. You got Swerve Strickland taking on Kazuchika Okada. You got Will Ospreay defending the international title against MJF. Mercedes Moné defending the TBS title against Nyla Rose. 250th episode of Dynamite. Does it feel like it should be bigger?
I think it's about as big as it needs to be. You've got a couple of really good marquee matches that are set up there. You've got your world champion who's wrestling on the card. You've got your biggest women's star who's wrestling on the card, and that's gonna and Nyla Rose is great too. So that's gonna be a good matchup. And I guarantee they're gonna continue to build in some way, shape, or form from Mercedes to Britt. You don't want it to be too extravagant and too big because you do have All In that's coming up right around the corner here. But at the same time, if you're AEW, you could stand to pop a rating or two here lately and get those numbers up as you continue to negotiate a new TV deal. But TNT's got its own issues with the NBA right now, so I think it's about as good as it needs to be. I think these last couple of Dynamites have been some of the best that they've done in quite some time. The ending to last week's Dynamite was so well executed. This storyline and this build with Mariah May, who has been an absolute home run hire for AEW, and Tony Storm, and you can throw in Luther and Mina Shirakawa and everything that happened in the lead up to their pay-per-view match. And then this just seemingly coming out of nowhere, and you just see the brutal side of Mariah May come out as she just demolishes Tony Storm in the setup for their matchup at All In. It was so well executed. MJF being back has been a shot in the arm. Mercedes being around has been a big get for them. Britt Baker coming back. It feels like AEW's got their energy back. They've got their soul back. They've got their life back. With the addition of Mercedes and MJF and Britt Baker coming back, some of their big stars. Once they get Adam Cole coming back, which he was teasing some stuff on Twitter, but hopefully he's coming back here soon. They're getting healthy. The storylines are great. I think this has got all the makings to be another really, really good Dynamite.
And you're right, and that's a big part of it is getting, the injury list for AEW is kind of lengthy, quite honest, but it feels like some of those folks are getting ready to come back, like you said. That's going to help them, especially in this stretch to All In on August 25th. So yeah, I get that. I think you're right. I think there might have been a little more pizzazz, but for a Dynamite in the middle of July in Little Rock, Arkansas, that's not bad. I get it.
No, it's not bad. And you know what? I think this stretch of the last few months for AEW is only going to be beneficial for them in the long run. They took it in the teeth while they didn't have MJF, right? They didn't have Britt Baker. They didn't have Adam Cole out there. They were missing Kenny Omega is still out, right? But they had to lean on other people and they had to push other people. And now you've been able to elevate Will Ospreay to the next level. Swerve Strickland now is that guy doing some of the best work that he's done in his career, which is saying something, honestly. And now you have built two new stars in those guys, and now MJF is back into the fold. Hopefully Kenny Omega is back soon, but I think they're going to benefit from these last few months of having to lean on other people who weren't over at the time, who may now be over, and now you've got this kind of this same good problem that WWE has right now, where it's like we got too many good people. How do we push them all?
Right.
So I think they're going to benefit from that in the long run.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mentioned Arlington. So starting this coming weekend, AEW starts their residency, shall we say, at the Esports Stadium, used to be known as the Arlington Convention Center, in the shadow of AT&T Stadium, the home of the Cowboys. And the reports that are out there saying it's going to be configured for about 1,000 fans. So, doing Collision there, plus they're going to do Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor there. Is that having a place where you're going to have 1,000 fans? Does that feel like a downgrade, or is it more of trying to take advantage of I guess for lack of a better term, a studio type setting?
Yeah, I think if you're not going to be able to pack in these major crowds, and I've been at shows where, man, I remember when they first came to Cincinnati a couple years ago. I believe Mox was AEW World Champion at the time, and that was the night that Hangman Adam Page got concussed. That was at the Heritage Bank Center, and I do believe that there was somewhere in the ballpark of 6,000 to 7,000 fans there. They come back a year later, it's half that. They're at like 3,000 fans, and they did not do a whole lot of advertising prior to that show, which I think has been one of their bigger issues. Is there's a lack of local advertising, because even hardcore AEW fans, like 2 days before the show, had no idea they were in town until they saw the trucks outside the Heritage Bank Center. And at that point, it's almost, if you got kids or something like that, it's hard to uproot your life and go to a show on a given night. So I think they did themselves a disservice there. But when they came back the next time to the Cincinnati area after that, they did they did Truist Arena on the campus of Northern Kentucky University, just across the Ohio River, which is basically Cincinnati, but it's not really. But and that night, I think they only opened the lower bowl and only had 2/3 of the lower bowl sold, and it just felt empty. It kind of felt lifeless. Like, I would much rather prefer them, if they are struggling in a situation, to sell live tickets, and they got to figure out how to fix that problem, whether it's more local advertising, whether it's just riding this wave of momentum that they got going now, and getting the momentum back, and eventually, slowly but surely, the ticket sales will start to pick back up like they did back in the day. Obviously they're going up against a hot WWE product right now, which during their heyday, they were not going up against a very good WWE product. I would much rather see them run smaller venues where it's more of an exclusive, intimate setting, where the building is packed, where it's going to be loud, where you can make it look like there's 4,000 people there if you shoot it correctly. I would much rather that than just let the sound get sucked out of um, mostly empty, 3/4 empty, larger arenas and larger venues. So I think this is a good move on their part when they're struggling to sell more than 3 or 4,000 for your average Dynamite or Collision.
Well, and Tony has talked about he enjoys coming to the Metroplex. The fans there, riding kind of the fandom that goes, pretty much goes all the way back to world class. and Dallas Fort Worth seems to treat him really well. I wanted to touch on, so there was a report from Fightful,
Okay.
that says that AEW is looking at doing, what do they say, a quote, a major scale event in the Metroplex in 2025, and they seem to intimate a stadium type show. Now, I think once people hear that, the first place they think of is Jerry World. They're thinking of
Right.
AT&T Stadium, home of the Cowboys. Now, there are at least two other stadiums within walking distance of Jerry World, that being Globe Life Field, the home of the Texas Rangers, and Choctaw Stadium, which used to be Globe Life Park, the former home of the Texas Rangers and the current home of the Dallas Renegades of the UFL. So, talking about, trying to get the ticket thing going with smaller venues, and then you hear this report that they're looking to do a major scale event in Dallas Fort Worth in 2025. How much faith do you have that they can pull something like that off?
Man, it's so hard to say. I'll say though, I am encouraged by that report. In which case, it's like they have faith in themselves that they'll be able to pull that off, right? If they're trying to plan that far out, because look, Tony Khan's not an idiot. He sees the crowds. He knows he has an issue. He knows he has to fix it. They're gonna sell a ton of seats at Wembley for All In again this year, and that's obviously a major stadium show. They can pull that off in the UK. If he's got a plan to do that in Dallas, Texas, and sell out, or at least sell tens of thousands of tickets for a place like Jerry's World, which is a fantastic venue for a wrestling show, is at WrestleMania 38, absolutely spectacular. That press box alone is nicer than my house.
It is a nice press box. You're right.
Oh my God, dude. I remember, that's a quick sidebar. I remember going from WrestleMania 38 to SummerSlam that year, which was at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, a 20-year-old stadium that just needs to be torn down. My goodness, I walk into that press box and I was like, man, I got spoiled in Dallas. That place looked like, the hallway that they would take you to for tornado drills when I was in elementary school. That's what Nissan Stadium's press box looked like. It was dimly lit, it was dank, it was dirty. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, yeah, Jerry's World, great place to watch a wrestling show. I don't know what their plan is, but again, that's 2025.
Yeah.
If you book it now, you can start much like WWE does a year out in advance. Hey, WrestleMania 41, boom, we're in Vegas next year. Hey, by the way, we're in Vegas next year. Hey, did you know we're in Vegas next year? And before you know it, they got, tens of thousands of seats sold. And, right now we're just speculating that Cody Rhodes and The Rock is going to be a match at WrestleMania 41. So if you can do that same thing and really hit the marketing, I think that is AEW's biggest downfall right now, is a lack of marketing. And if they can do that and they can harness it and they do what they do for All In for this Dallas show, I think they got a chance to be successful. But just the fact that they're thinking about doing it makes me believe that they're confident that they can do it and they have a plan of attack to do it.
Yeah. And by the way, yes, having covered the Cowboys for several years for sports radio here in Austin, yes, you get very spoiled going into the press box at Gerald. If nothing else, just for the food by itself.
Oh my God.
Fantastic.
Good night.
And I mentioned the three stadiums that are there in Arlington, two of which have a roof. There are, there are several other. You can go to Frisco, go to the Star in Frisco, which is the Cowboys, world headquarters. You've got a couple of the college Ford Stadium, for SMU. You've got a few others. There's
what's
there
the
are several
capacity?
stadiums.
What's the capacity for the Mavericks Arena? Like,
the American Airlines Center, that's, I want to say 18,000.
I mean, that might not be a bad, backup plan if you don't think that you could.
Yeah, that's not a bad backup plan. And again, you got several venues. You could use Toyota Stadium, which is FC Dallas Stadium there in Frisco. There's
Oh, that's a bad
several.
soccer
You got
team.
several options there. So yeah, you're right. If they can market it right, start just pounding that it's going to be there, and we're going to have this and that. I think you're right. Roderick Strong. So we keep hearing that they're trying to keep Ring of Honor separate from AEW, but this past Saturday you had on AEW Collision Roderick Strong and Dalton Castle for a shot at Mark Briscoe's Ring of Honor World Title at Death Before Dishonor. Roderick Strong gets the win. Give me your thoughts on Roderick Strong versus Mark Briscoe coming up a week from Friday.
I feel like this needs to be. Look, if Mark Briscoe is going to be the Ring of Honor World Champion, he needs to be fighting Deuter and in Ring of Honor on Thursdays. Like that's just where I'm kind of at with it. Like AEW's roster is so stacked, and you've got people like Ricky Starks, for example, that Tony Khan says, "Oh, I'd love to get him on television." Put him on television. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are you giving Roderick Strong, who 2 weeks ago was your, international champion or whatever it was, just a few weeks ago before he dropped it to Will Ospreay. Like, why is he now doing Ring of Honor matches on AEW television? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You've got a lot of young, talented rosters. I wish Tony would treat Ring of Honor like WWE does NXT. And I know I'm going to get some eye rolls on that, but I mean, you just signed Mason Mansour, Eminem boys, right, to a Ring of Honor exclusive contract. They're only going to be appearing on Thursdays. Like, if you got guys who are going to be Ring of Honor talent, that's fine if you want to have them do enhancement matches and film ahead of Dynamite, but call me a purist. Dynamite, Collision, those need to be heavily focused on your main AEW roster talent. And, I think just putting the Ring of Honor stuff on there convolutes and clouds things, if I'm honest.
And I think you're right in the sense that there needs to be he needs to have an AEW roster and a Ring of Honor roster, and with a couple exceptions, don't have them, just both. It's just because it muddies the water and it confuses people.
Like, if you want to move talent back and forth between the two companies, the two brands, that's fine, but don't shift storylines and titles and programs, right? So everything, like Mark Briscoe, great talent, love the guy, right? I'm rooting the best for him. I'm happy that he's Ring of Honor World Champion, but that guy should be, especially with Athena Hurt, that guy should be the face of Thursday nights. Mm-hmm. Now, this is my understanding, because I will be frank with you. I don't watch Ring of Honor. I give myself one night a week off from professional wrestling, and it's Thursdays.
Me too.
For my own break, for my own sanity, like, let me just sit down and watch Dexter on Netflix. All right, there's almost too much of pro wrestling, and I know I got to watch it Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, sometimes Sundays. Thursdays are my days to watch whatever I need to. And I also got to bounce back and forth covering the Reds, because I do that for Sports Illustrated, right? So I got to stay up to date on them. So I got a lot that I'm juggling. Thursday nights I take off. But from my understanding, for people who watch Ring of Honor, is Mark Briscoe wins the world title, and then he's not on TV. He's not on Ring of Honor. He's barely there. And then he's competing for number one contenders matches for, or the Owen Hart or whatever the heck he was in, or the ladder match for the TNT championship. It's like, why is your Ring of Honor world champion on AEW programming competing for AEW titles when he should be working on his own storylines, his own championship, and defending that on Thursdays on Ring of Honor? I don't get it just feels like Tony it's like he's got a giant container full of Yahtzee, and he just shakes it up and he throws it out there, and whatever lands on each night, he's like, all right, well, we'll put this here on Friday, and we'll put this here on Saturday, and we'll put this here on Thursday. And yeah, okay, good. That's a week. That's a week's worth of programming. Let's shake it up next time.
Yeah. I think it's in, a lot of people have said this. I think he needs to find someone that can, I don't know, take the load off of Tony or whatever, but he needs to find a group that can book Ring of Honor specifically, let him book AEW specifically, And like you said, let's not cross the streams.
I look again, treat it like a developmental brand. You have a creative team there. You have a young, talented producer, backstage creative team member, and Will Washington, who was on Fightful.com as an analyst before he joined up with the company. He's got a brilliant wrestling mind. Why don't you take somebody like, and wasn't Malcolm Bivens supposed to be working on, or excuse me, Stokely Hathaway? Wasn't Stokely supposed to be working on some of the creative for AEW? You've got guys like Brian Danielson who are there, who are moving into the twilight of their career as performers. Like, you have talented people who could work together, and you can bring them up as bookers and GMs or whatever you want to do with them. Hand Ring of Honor off to them and see what they can do with it. You got enough talent there. Yeah, take something off your plate, Tony, please. Like, focus on AEW, focus on the Jaguars, focus on the soccer team that you got. You got a lot of stuff that you're juggling up in the air. This is your busy season. NFL starts now. We had training camp open up today for like half the league. Like, he's going to be busy. He's always busy. I don't know when that man sleeps, and I respect him for it, but the work ethic is strong. Take something off your plate. I'd give some of the young guys backstage Ring of Honor and see what they could do with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's switch gears, talk a little WWE as they build towards SummerSlam. SummerSlam in what, 2.5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, August 3rd, right around the corner.
Oh man, it's like okay, you just had the Clash of the Castle. Now we turn around and
just had Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. You're right.
Yeah, Clash of the Castle was 4 weeks ago. Money in the Bank was a week ago. Like,
and now it's and now all of a sudden, oh, we're almost at SummerSlam.
And then 3 weeks later, they're in Germany.
Yeah,
like, they are just going boom, 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 boom.
We know it's going to be Cody versus Solo for the world title, for the WWE title. And look, I get it. This is the logical next step of the storyline with the bloodline and all that good stuff. The only thing is, I don't think anybody is of the mindset that Solo Sikoa could win that title. Now, they'll do some sort of chicanery, I think. There'll be bloodline interference, all that good stuff. If you listen to the talk around the campfire, there's a possibility that Roman Reigns might be showing back up. But again, this is not going to be, I mean, Cody versus Solo might be the most obvious result coming up on SummerSlam.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's going to be bad either. And look, honestly, any match that Cody has been a part of in this WWE Championship run has been the most obvious choice. Cody Rhodes is not, spoiler alert, is not dropping the WWE Championship anytime soon. Anytime soon. The earliest he's dropping that belt is WrestleMania 41, right? Like, that is the earliest he is dropping that. He is going to hold on to the WWE Championship until The Rock is ready to come back and they continue their feud. But what they are doing now, because like when the fans are smart and we're wise to it, and we all realize where the long game is going with Cody Rhodes, every single one of his title defenses then becomes obvious. So if you're Triple H now, it's how do you make us care about a match that we know Cody is going to win? And I think that is where they have been brilliant in this storytelling, is that you've had this hostile takeover of the bloodline. They are using Cody as a launching pad for this next bloodline civil war that is going to be going down, because Solo Sikoa cut that absolutely, brilliant promo. It was just really brilliant writing, and I got to tip my hat to Paul Heyman, because it had his fingerprints all over it, where Solo said, look, Roman failed us. Roman was not man enough to defend his title against Cody Rhodes. So I am now taking over. I am coming for the championship for our family. And if Roman wants to come back and be in WWE, that's great, but he's going to acknowledge me. Yeah. He took out his tribal chief. Kevin Owens, prayers up to his family, going through some stuff right now. He's not on TV at the moment. Last week, they strung up Cody Rhodes in the ropes and they took out Randy Orton. They watched him take out his mentor and the only backup that he had left. So now all of a sudden, it is Cody Rhodes standing alone. It is Captain America facing down Thanos and his entire army. It is one against them all. Somebody's got to show up to help out Cody Rhodes. And I think Cody will win the match. I think Cody will win the match outright. But after it's all said and done, you are going to have Jacob Fatu, who is an absolute stud, by the way, and company just start decimating Cody Rhodes and taking him out. And then all of a sudden, much like we got a lot with Roman during his run, anytime, he'd retain at SummerSlam, what would happen? We'd get the lower third. Oh, shit. Here's Brock Lesnar's music that hits. Oh, damn. Here comes John Cena down to the ring. We're going to get a point. This is what I believe anyway. We are going to get a point here where after Cody has successfully defended the title, he's defied all the odds. The 4-on-1 beatdown is going to happen. And then all of a sudden, Roman's music is going to hit. And he is going to come down to the ring to the aid of the man who stole his championship at WrestleMania 40 and fight alongside him against his own family members to a massive pop because Cody and Roman have respect for one another. Cody solidified Roman's face turn without Roman even being there simply by acknowledging him on the Monday after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging him and thanking him for the run that he went on for 4 years. And now all of a sudden, ever since it's, we want Roman. Holy, when did you ever think a WWE crowd would be chanting, we want Roman? Cody helped him get there. Those two have respect for one another. They have been to war with one another over the last 2 years, and it's going to be a very interesting dynamic to watch Cody and Roman now on the same page going up against Solo and the Bloodline. I think that is what they've set up here, and eventually, I think we're going to get an Uso reunion because Jay ain't doing much. He's over. He's massively over, but they're not doing anything with him really. And then Jimmy's going to be coming back here soon. He's reportedly cleared for action, so it's going to be interesting to see how all of that comes into play down the line.
Yeah. So the allegedly Hikuleo is signed with WWE after his run with New Japan. You would think that being the younger brother of Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, he's gonna be part of the new bloodline. But I think it would be a more interesting story if he comes out and saddles up with Roman and the Usos.
You're going to have to even the playing field sooner rather than later, right? Because Cody's not going to be there for the entire run. I think Cody is just there for like the initial, launch. But Cody's going to have his own business as the WWE champion. He's got a bunch of people who are going to be lined up to face him. And I think after the beatdown on Friday, Randy Orton might be at the top of the list. They've been teasing that for a while, and that's something that's got to happen. So I think, Randy putting his neck out for Cody and then just getting absolutely decimated by the bloodline again, that might have like flipped the switch and the voices might start taking over in Randy's head and he might start doing some sinister shit like he did back in the day, right? So we can get to that down the line. But yeah, Roman bringing in his own reinforcements from this seemingly endless talent tree that is the Anoa'i family and the whole roster is going to be Samoan by the time this thing is done. Like they're just like bringing them in. It's like another one. Like there's more of you out there, and yeah, there's still more of them out there. So yeah, they absolutely could. I would love to see Roman bring in some reinforcements too. That way, if you want to keep Jimmy and Jay separated from it, you can if you really want to. But I think it would behoove them to get involved with it.
Well, and like you said, there's 4 in the bloodline, so you got to have. If you got Roman, Jimmy, and Jay, that's 3. They got to find a 4th. As I said, it seems it would be more interesting to put Hikuleo with them, have him battle his brothers or whatever. So
you could always have him go help, get some help from Sami Zayn too. I mean, think about that. The OG bloodline of Roman Usos and Sami Zayn going up against Solo and his boys at, I don't know, War Games, Survivor Series. Like, is that the end game here? Sign me the hell up for that.
It's not a bad idea. Rhea Ripley shows up. She starts off Raw. She, she's got this whole Liv Morgan and Dominic mess going on. Basically boils down to Rhea gets a shot at the title that she never lost
Mm-hmm.
when she's going to face Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. This has been it's I don't know if I don't know if it's intentional, but it's been almost the funniest story with everything with Dominic and Liv. And so I guess the question is, who survives, I guess, in the Judgment Day? Is it Rhea? Is it Dominic? Is it Liv? Or I guess the more important question: who does Dominic side with? We know Rhea says you're mine,
Right.
but again, it feels like maybe Dominic decides, okay, maybe I will hang out with Liv.
I think Dominic is going to do what he's done this entire time. Just finally at SummerSlam, it's going to be intentional. He's going to help Liv Morgan retain the championship because, look, taking the entire storyline out of it, if you look at the backstage lineup, how everything is listed, Rhea Ripley is a babyface, while the rest of Judgment Day are all heels. They're going to want to separate her out from that group. I think she's obviously massively over. She was massively missed over the early part of the summer. I'm glad she's back and able to wrestle in this match. But this is a program that's honestly going to have to carry the world title picture for a little bit while they build up the rest of the women's roster on Raw. They have there's no end of talent, but if you look at the people on the roster and the women's side who the audience is fully invested in, it's a very short list. It's Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, and that's it with Becky on the sidelines. So we'll see when Becky comes back from her hiatus. We'll see when Charlotte comes back. Asuka's not expected to be back until 2026. So you got some, or 2025, excuse me. So you've got some people missing. So Rhea being separated from the Judgment Day, Dominic still being one of the most hated men in America, and aligning himself with Liv Morgan and completing her heel arc, and them being the most annoying couple on planet Earth. That just makes a whole lot of sense to me. I see Damian Priest. I think he's going to lose the championship probably to Gunther at SummerSlam. I would be shocked if Gunther loses his first world title match. But it was nice to see Damian finally get a win on Monday night solo by himself. I think they missed a golden opportunity to give him a big, clean title defense with the how they decided to book the Money in the Bank match with Seth Rollins. I would have preferred to see him beat Seth Rollins. But they didn't go that way. They decided to fire up Rollins and Punk at the same time that they're possibly still trying to get Rollins, or excuse me, McIntyre and Punk together, and Punk's not even cleared yet. So might have bit off more than they could chew with that. But Damian and Finn, there have been teasing some problems with them. I would not be surprised to see that split happen at SummerSlam. SummerSlam honestly might be the last night that Judgment Day, or at least this iteration of Judgment Day, is a thing. Yeah. Like Finn Balor might try to keep the group together with him and JD and Carlito and Dominic. But I do think the two biggest heads of that dragon, being your two world champions, or one of them being the former world champion, are going to be out of Judgment Day within the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think you're right. Got the betting odds from Bet Online. Right now, Gunther is a favorite at minus 1,000 or 1 to 10 odds. And Cody Rhodes, as we were talking about obvious results, Cody Rhodes is at a minus 3,000 to Solo Sikoa at plus 900. So I'd say the money's definitely on Cody and on Gunther. So
yeah, but here's the thing: the last few pay-per-views, just this last time out at Money in the Bank, Braun Breaker was a heavy favorite, and Sami Zayn retained. So it doesn't always mean that
very true.
Bet Online knows what's going to happen. They also got to work on their spelling because they totally butchered Sami Zayn's spelling of his name the last time the odds came out. But
they did. Yeah.
Regardless, they do know what they're talking about more often than not, but that doesn't always mean they're accurate, that they're right on board with that.
I the Wyatt Six. First of all, can somebody please clue them in that there is better technology than VHS? I mean, I mean, it's delivering these VHS tapes, which technology is way past it. We saw the tape. This time, it was actually delivered to the Pat McAfee show on ESPN.
Yeah.
Pat brings it to Raw. They play it. Basically, it's Eric Rowan reflecting on losing his brothers,
Yep.
namely Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper / Brody Lee.
Yep.
Which was, I thought that was fantastic. Then we actually get to see Bo Dallas in the ring. Now he didn't do anything except get beat up by Chad Gable and the Creeds. And oh, by the way, the Creeds are finally siding with Chad Gable.
Yeah, that was a big night. That was a big angle on the day.
Now, and by the way, I may have missed it. I guess allegedly somebody said you could see, like, when they would do the backstage vignettes, off in the distance, Chad Gable's talking to the Creeds or whatever.
Yeah, that's been going on for a few weeks.
Okay, so that may be the.
You got to watch everything in Triple H's era of WWE. He is brilliant at utilizing those moments where you think nothing is going on. It was the same stuff with Sonya Deville and Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. Like, for weeks, those three have been talking with one another in the background of other segments. So those typical throwaway backstage promo segments, you got to always look around because there's always something interesting going on. There's some Easter eggs in there that Triple H loves to throw in there.
You're right. Basically, Chad Gable's beating up Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas starts laughing, and then here comes the rest of the Wyatt Six. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, look, it's intriguing. I was never the biggest fan of Bray Wyatt's stuff. I have all the respect in the world on his creativity. Just wasn't for me. With this, my thing is, look, this is, all this setting up, it's got to eventually work out into seeing these folks in the ring in a wrestling match against pick your opponent. But give me your thoughts on what we have seen so far from the Wyatt Six.
I think one of the big things I was worried about with this group was going to be the pacing, because I believe that was the biggest issue with Bray's last run. Is it felt like so much week in and week out was kicking the can down the road, and we weren't really getting anywhere with it. And ultimately, we only got, unfortunately, the one match out of him, and it was the one at the Royal Rumble with LA Knight, where the match got cut short for time. And we got the big angle with Uncle Howdy jumping off the stage and everything like that, but we never got a follow-up after that because Bray fell ill shortly after. I think the pacing of this has been perfect. I think their approach to the story that they're trying to tell has been very well told, very well executed. Bo Dallas, I had my doubt might be a strong word, but there was some trepidation. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull off the character work that his brother did. And so far, he has far exceeded even the most loftiest of expectations from me. He's been nothing short of brilliant. And I love that they went head on addressing the biggest concerns of, hey, are you trying to, leech off of your brother's legacy and exploit the work that he did for your own gain? And I loved his response of, what was I supposed to do? Let him become a mausoleum? Like, let everything that he stood for and everything that he created just go by the wayside because he's no longer here. I was a part of this too. Let me carry the torch and let's see if we can make this successful. And I loved that. And yeah, I don't know why they're doing it on VHS too. Like, even the most, amateur video editors can get on Canva and put something together and have it be an MP4. But, hey, I guess VHS tapes are spookier, whatever it is. And I guarantee you there's some 20-year-olds who are watching going, the hell is a VHS tape? Google, please. Thank you. But yeah, man, like, It's been a great presentation with Nikki Cross showing up and her like little what was that one horror movie with the well? Her little ring get up, Samara ring get up, like crawling around and dropping off the tapes and freaking the hell out of everybody, and the security guards just mysteriously falling out and passing out, with everything that they've been doing there. So it's been a nice little presentation, and it's been a nice tease to get people to stick around, which is ultimately why I think they're doing it. But it was very, very interesting to see um, Eric Rowan tell his side of the story, and it was the best thing, honestly. He's ever. This is a guy who doesn't get a whole lot of time to talk, right?
Yeah.
You know, telling us what the loss of Bray and Brody did to him, and him wondering why anybody would care about him. I'm Rowan. I was the guy they gave him giant fucking mechanical spider to. Like nobody gives a damn about me. Like, I'm the least talked about person of this group, and I'm the only one left. Um, and then being found by Uncle Howdy was so raw, it was so emotional. Um, Everything has been done to a T. The presentation when they have been live has been beautifully shot. Their first foray where they did that one continuous camera shot, and it was like we were going through a house of horrors backstage, and it wasn't a pre-tape thing, it was live. Like everything that they have done from a production standpoint the last few months has been spectacular as well. Lee Fitting is in his bag in WWE and having a ball. um this all has been really, really well executed. The pacing has been great, the story has been great, but it's all going to come down to the booking.
Yeah.
How is this group going to be booked? Because Bray Wyatt was so masterful at being a compelling storyteller and getting people to care about his angles and his segments. And then his matches were always heavily criticized. Now, I enjoyed a lot of his work in the matches because I looked at them more as performance art than a pro wrestling match. I still, one of my favorite Bray Wyatt matches of all time, and we got reminded of that performance on Monday, was when he wrestled The Miz just as Bray Wyatt in the red sweater, and The Miz is kicking his ass, and he's just laughing at him the whole damn time for like 12 straight minutes, just methodically laughing at the guy and putting on this performance art instead of a wrestling match, and then he just beats the shit out of The Miz inside of 2 minutes and pinned him. I enjoyed every second of it, but I understand that other people would not like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this group is booked, how their matches look. I do like that this group is more based in reality. They've nailed it so far. We'll see what happens, what their motivations are. Going after Chad Gable is one thing. He's a great storyteller. He can help put this group over, and I think he's done this so far. It was hilarious on Monday, him going around telling everybody, yeah, I figured it out, man. Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy. Yeah, I've been telling everybody. Yeah. No, I know. I figured it out. That was me. He's doing a great job. I think he and the Creeds together make a ton of sense. I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm in so far. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think, like you said, if they book it right, I think it could be really intriguing, could be very entertaining. Um, I'm the guy that wants to see. I get performance art, but I also want to see a good wrestling match as well. So they got to find a way to kind of toe that line, so to speak. Um, Real quick, Stephanie McClure,
Mm.
she immediately, just all of a sudden says, I'm done with New Japan. I'm done with CMLL. Signs with WWE. She actually
What a
showed
month
up.
she's had, huh?
Oh, man. Showed up at their house shows over the weekend in Mexico. It's expected she will be in NXT very soon. Just talk about what Stephanie McClure could look like in NXT.
So, in all honesty, Stephanie McClure is not somebody who I was overly familiar with before she got in the ring with Mercedes, which is why that match was so big for her because it put her on a stage, on a spotlight, in a match that Mercedes went out of her way, reportedly, to make Stephanie look good. I think maybe the plan was to get her to sign with AEW. So in that case, it backfired because 2 weeks later, she's in Monterrey, Mexico, wrestling Isla Dawn under a WWE flag. But from what I've seen, the highlights, the match I saw with Mercedes, she is very, very good. She is really good, and she adds just another toy really for Shawn Michaels to play with. That women's division is absolutely ridiculously stacked with athletes and up and comers. And now you're bringing in somebody like a Stephanie Vercour, who's, the wrestling is not going to be an issue, right? It's how does she translate to American television? Same with Julia, who's on her way in. What's that going to do to the landscape of NXT? Does that maybe open up a spot where you can have Roxanne Perez drop the title to a Stephanie Vercour or a Julia and move up to the main roster, whether it be Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, and then just balloon that division even more, which may be why they're talking about adding two mid-card women's championships, because they have so much talent and only so much to fight for. The rich get richer here as far as WWE is concerned, and that's the benefit of AEW existing is somebody like a Stephanie Vercour can get her moment to shine. And now all of a sudden, within 3 weeks, WWE is like, hey, sign on the dotted line. We need you in Monterrey, Mexico. We want to showcase you there. Her dream just came true because of one match in AEW, really got them on her radar. And I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I mean, that obviously helped her. And she made some more fans by wrestling Mercedes, even in a losing effort. So that's a great get for WWE. I'm looking forward to becoming an even bigger fan of hers down the road.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I want to see more and more from Stephanie Vercour and Julia, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
She makes her way from Japan. So he is Rick Ucchino. Read all of his stuff on Cageside Seats. Rick, I appreciate it, man. By the way,
Sure.
All-Star game tied at 3.
Wow.
Fourth inning.
Wow.
So
has Ellie gotten in the game yet? That's the question. Come on, phone.
that's a good question. I don't know.
Work for me, baby. Ellie De La Cruz in the game. Has he hit a homer yet? What's going on? I don't even know. I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh well, that's Rick, I appreciate it. All the best to you.
Thanks,
and,
sir.
We'll talk again soon.
Love it. Anytime.